There was a group in Bloomington that was called Harvest of Hope, and they were trying to feed the hungry, in different parts of the community in different ways. There was an article in the Panagraph that simply stated that there was a need for them to have support. We felt like as a family we could maybe endeavor to help them with shelf-stable food.
They were a band of brothers that came together and said, we'll do this.
On their farm over in McLean County, they started giving out food to agencies out of their machine shed.
The next thing you know, we was at 30 and then 40 and then 50. And it was almost like, where is this going? I can still remember asking the road commissioner if it was okay with the cars and the vehicles sitting on the road because they were waiting for service. The community was starting to see, the rural community for sure, that whatever was going on here was worthwhile and they wanted to be a part of it. And it soon became a community endeavor, not a family endeavor. We decided to take the machinery out of another building. Now we had a warehouse that was like 9,600 square feet, which we thought was huge.
When you increasingly have more need and then you keep getting more food in, I think it's an affirmation that we're on the right track, doing the right thing. And so we have to find new ways to expand.
At first I did wonder, what if there's more agencies in food? Then what do we do? Back then God said, I was with you right here and I'll keep trusting me, because as it gets bigger, that worry of having enough food could just be bigger. We pretty much responded to the need as we grew. And when the need was there, then we trusted that God would provide the food and the resources to meet that need.
People talk about Midwest Food Bank, well, what is your mission and what do you do? Simply put, we gather up food and we give it away.
We live in a country with a lot of excess, and a food bank really puts themselves in the middle between those with excess and those with little.
There's a partnership between us and the donors. Our executive director uses this phrase all the time: you call, we haul. And for the most part, we don't say no to anything.
I try not to call this a warehouse, because a warehouse is where you store food. It's a distribution center. The food comes in, it does no good sitting on those shelves.
Distribution Week is so special. We swell every month with food and food products, and during Distribution Week, we shrink and we give that food away for free to our partnering agencies.
They come to the food bank and then they, in essence, go shopping. They select what they want, and then volunteers will load that onto their vehicle. It's huge, the impact or the weight of food that goes out of here.
When that truck drives out and they're getting approximately 4 palletfuls of food, and we all had a hand in gathering that food up, we know that there are going to be some people who are going to eat next week that maybe wouldn't have eaten.
Before we found Midwest, we were spending thousands of dollars going to Sam's Club and pretty much any other source we could find food. Now, if we run short, all we have to do is call Midwest and say, look, we don't have enough to feed them, can you help us? They say yes.
It is a network of volunteers that do everything you can imagine. Stock and categorize the food, retrieve the food, sort the food, package the food, and ultimately deliver it to the pantry, who then delivers it to the recipient.
They think of a food bank and they think of, oh, there's some cans on the shelf somewhere to give to people, but they have no idea of how big it is and the quantity of food that's here.
When I walked in at this big warehouse, I didn't know what a food bank of this magnitude was. Once I'd been here even 1 month, I knew that, wow, this is quite an organization that is helping lots of people.
People think that there's only hunger in Africa. That's not true. There's hunger here. That's why we need people like Midwest Food Bank and pantries like us to be that safety net.
Our hope is just to bridge the gap between prosperity and poverty in our community, and Midwest Food Bank is doing that. I get to see that every day.
Every bit of material that we get from Midwest Food Bank is free. I don't know where we'd be if we had to have an outlay of money every time we turned around.
It's a blessing to me to be able to help other people, the brightness of their faces, the thanks you get, you know. And then those people sometimes is helping someone else. So it's a blessing, like going around in a circle.
I remember when we first started, some people came in with a little chip on their shoulder. They weren't sure about us, if we were going to last, or, you know, if we're going to be around for the long haul. And we are. We're around for the long haul. We probably would be in trouble financially if it wasn't for Midwest. I just can't even say enough. When we think we're not going to have enough, there's an abundance.
It just gives every one of us at the food pantry a warm and fuzzy when we're able to hand out that product. And I think that feeling kind of comes from the Midwest Food Bank to us, and then we try to pay that forward to the other customers.
We don't have any control over what comes in. And sometimes the call we receive is, hey, we have a load of candy, we have a load of chips. And that's all great food, but really what would be great to give out is just something that we would be able to eat on its own as a meal.
When we first opened, we were giving away 50-pound bags of rice, 50-pound bags of beans, and 50-pound bags of textured vegetable protein. So Larry came to me one day and he said, wouldn't it be great if we had a meal product that used the rice, the soy protein, and the beans?
The food bank thinking is we need to add value to everything that we do, and how can we add value to these products? So if we can take these products, which are the lowest cost and have the highest nutritional value, we think that's the greatest added value that we can give to somebody.
It's rice, beans, textured vegetable protein, and a chicken seasoning. And so those four components are put together by this machine and into a 2/3 of a pound bag, and it becomes a meal for 4 people.
All you need to do is boil water and just have one pot, and you can have a full amount of high nutrition, fiber, protein, all in one setting. The elderly community that are raising kids and people that live in apartments and have very little means of cooking, Tender Mercies is a perfect fit. It just goes out of here month by month by month by month.
Well, in 2005, when Katrina hit the Gulf Coast, it was the largest natural disaster the United States had ever experienced. It got my attention. We had never done disaster relief, but I thought, I bet we could take a semi-load. The Salvation Army was receiving those that were displaced by the hurricanes, and they had 15,000 people there. About 10 o'clock that night when we got the semi unloaded, I felt that was the only load that we were going to give them.
The commander asked David if he would commit to bringing 10 more semi-loads of food down.
I said yes. Now I didn't have no clue where I was going to get 10 more loads of food. I got in a truck and Wilma said, why did you say that? And I said, I don't know, but I did because I feel like we need to. I was starting to be concerned about that. Where's the rest of the food going to come that we offer to take them?
By the time the Hurricane Katrina disaster was completely finished, Midwest Food Bank took over 150 semi-loads of food down into that area. And from that, our disaster relief really expanded, and our partnership with Salvation Army was bonded. When a natural disaster takes place, everything is disrupted. Grocery stores get wiped out, food supplies get wiped out, people's homes get wiped out, and you have to have food in order to survive.
We have a box that basically is for a family of 4, to where if your house is totally gone, this box can kind of sustain you for a week or so. It's got a health kit, different types of food. If you don't have a lot of things at your disposal, or you can find something to boil some water in, you can actually make a meal and feed your family.
I think being hungry is worse than addiction. I've seen people, right now who have been hungry that have led them to commit crimes, not because they're greedy, just because they want to be fed.
That's what we're called to do as a community is take care of those who aren't as fortunate as myself. We all need help now and then.
What we do on a daily basis of serving those in need in our community, it reminds me that each of us is potentially one paycheck away from being in that same line.
I've once been hungry. At one point, I was the end user. I think that everything that has led up to the point to where I'm at today has led up to be able to serve other people.
It's important that we take other people's money and use it wisely. What someone has given us in funds is funds that God gave them. And if we take those funds and say we're going to be responsible for them, we should have a desire to do the best we can. We had Charity Navigator as an opportunity, if you will, to look at our books. You know, we felt like we were doing a good job, but what do they think? What does an outside firm look at you and think? And so they took 5 years of our tax returns, as they always do, and I would be happy if we could be in the top 1,000 or the top 500. I'd be happy because we're running this, you know, the best we can.
In finance and some of the different areas I've been into, it's just all about money and all about the world, and this is totally different than that. We just facilitate. That's kind of what our job is at any level of staff, is just to facilitate people coming in so that they can help make a difference.
It's overwhelming and very humbling to know that people on a daily basis give of their time, their funds, their expertise to come in and help us do what we do. We couldn't do it without them.
If Midwest Food Bank is the veins, the blood is the volunteers. Volunteers are the heart and soul of this organization.
Each of those volunteers play an integral part of everything that happens here.
One of the most endearing things about volunteering here is the joy that I see in the people's faces when they come to volunteer.
They literally blew me away. When I went home that first night, I think I felt better that night than I had in a long darn time. Knowing that the people that came in were getting stuff from here and I helped do it.
This place is therapy for me. You walk away at the end of the day and you know you got more benefit out of being here than anything that you contributed. You just feel good.
People are given all kinds of talents, expertise, experiences that can be used here.
We can do from 2 years old to 92 years old and whatever is in between. If you have a heart to serve and you come into the Midwest Food Bank, we'll find something for you to do.
I feel like it's so right and it's so needful for Midwest Food Bank to continue to help the agencies that we do, because it's not about Midwest Food Bank. What would we do with a warehouse full of food?
This is what Jesus said to do. He said, feed the poor. He didn't put a whole lot of rules on, just said do it. And that's all we're doing, we're being obedient.
I think if we do our part, which is a very small part, and then God blesses it, we just cannot worry about the future, because Food Bank has gone wildly beyond any dream we could have had or any ambition that we could have had.
We're just continually growing because the need is growing.
We give out more food now than we've ever given out, and yet we keep getting more food in. That's God's hand at work.
To see how He has brought so many good people, so many volunteers, and so many agencies that are faithfully serving, and allowing us to be a part of that is just huge.
When people come to the food bank, we say, I'm going to be helping people. And in the process, I might receive a blessing, but most importantly, I'm helping people. And that's the greatest thing they can do.